Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mom with Moms podcast. This is our first podcast of 2023. So just getting into the groove of things and all things new for the year, new resolutions. If you're into that, I know people make resolutions and then, kind of maybe it's 2 weeks or whatever. So this year, I have decided that I wanted to do a lot of different things, like obviously, have some goals, right, for my business, for, just for self-care, for, bettering myself. But I actually recently bought this book. It's called Atomic Habits. I have yet to read it, but that's my plan, is to one of the things I'd like to do is just to make sure that I read like a little bit every night instead of like scrolling on Instagram or working or whatever. It's like always like, I feel like I'm always up like later than I should be working and just doing the things. And when, in essence, you could actually be like focusing on other things that are going to maybe better your day the following day. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That's the plan. But I just bought a book.
It's a good book.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have.
Okay. James Clear.
Yes.
So I'm excited to read that. I'm hoping to bring some habits to light. One of them is actually reading at night. And then the other is to go to bed a little bit earlier, to be a bit more like purposeful and productive with my time.
Yeah.
So kind of like little things, right? So I don't necessarily have like horrible vices or really bad habits that I need to break, but I think that like there's so many habits that you like kind of pick up throughout the day that are, really just keeping you from like the goals that you want to meet.
Always.
So I am going to hopefully, to read that and really kind of, maybe put some new plans into place for how like I run my day, because I think it's like so, the day can like fly and you can feel like so accomplished by the end of the day, or you can feel like you're just like always kind of, chasing your tail. So I feel like the latter half of 2022, not like even just like the last couple, maybe like the last quarter, it was just a lot of that, like a lot of like,
it's a lot of go, a lot
yeah,
of go.
And just
what did I do? I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, so that's my plan. But I just wanted to welcome you, Rachael Van Shoick, to the Mom with Moms podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm from Align Movement.
Yes.
So tell us where you're from.
I am from Brick. I grew up in Brick, but a lot of my family lives in Manasquan, so I kind of grew up going to the beach there, grew up with my family there. So
So you grew up in Manasquan?
No, I grew up in Brick.
Oh, in Brick.
I grew up in Brick.
Mm-hmm.
My aunts and uncles, half of them live in Manasquan, half of them live in Point Pleasant, but spent a lot of time at the beach in Manasquan and
Seagirt and that area.
and all that area.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Seagirt we used to, up until like this past summer, we went to Seagirt every Sunday. It was like kind of like I don't know if it was a ritual, but we just went every Sunday and we went to Hoffman's. It was just like a really nice way to spend the weekend, and I love it there. And then I guess during COVID, it's like that the real estate in Manasquan, the real estate in Seagirt was always crazy, but
right.
But in Manasquan, like it's just kind of really picked up. But I'd love to live in that area. Like it's great. There's so much to do, and even around the holidays, it's beautiful. You have the downtown and restaurants and everything. It's like I think it's like one of the most perfect places to live. So.
No, it's nice. Everything is convenient. We almost had the opportunity of living in Manasquan.
Yeah.
But it just ended up not being right, and it was a little too small. We wanted to have something a little bit like a yard that was bigger. That's the only kind of downside sometimes in that area, but it ended up working, so it's fine.
And you're close enough. Right?
And we're close enough. We're still only 5-10 minutes from the beach. So
right. Perfect. Brick is big, though, so you live like closer to the Manasquan area.
Yeah.
Okay. How many schools do they have in Brick?
Too many?
Yeah, a lot, right?
They have a lot.
A lot. But it's not as big as... Is Tom's River bigger?
Tom's River is technically bigger than Brick,
but they're like comparable.
Yeah, I guess so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I know it like makes up like a big portion of Ocean County.
It does, absolutely.
So you grew up in Brick, and you went to school in one of the high schools there?
Yep, I went to Brick Memorial.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And where did you go to school after that?
I went to Montclair State University.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And have you always been involved in your field now?
Yes and no. I was a dancer.
Okay.
So I started dancing. I went to school for dance. I majored in that first. And then I got injured Okay. So then that's when I kind of shift gears and I shift over to exercise science and then got more into the physical therapy side. And after years of working for physical therapists and being an aide and everything, I decided to go back to school for a massage license. Okay. And my personal training and include more osteopathic trainings that I'm sure we'll get into later. But I kind of combine them all together to kind of make my own version, I guess you could say, of physical therapy.
Wow.
So I can kind of be your all-in-one compass versus just going to fix something or just going for training. You can kind of have the whole shebang all together.
Wow. So that's like an interesting progression, because when you were dancing, you probably didn't think that you would end up like what you're doing now, right?
No. I mean, my goal was I wanted to be a dancer. Okay. So I was going to be a dancer.
Sports teams or?
Anything.
Oh, okay.
Whether it was, I auditioned for sports teams. I was working with a contemporary company for a while. Mm-hmm. So I was going into Manhattan a lot. I did a program out there, then a program in school. So I was always going to be a performer somewhere in my mind. And then one thing happens and that shift just changes.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, you hear that story a lot in, the sports world that,
absolutely
shifts and, that one injury can make or break, a college career and obviously a professional career.
No, absolutely.
My husband was a professional baseball player for about 12 years. And
nice.
So I've heard all kinds of stories. And then also, my stepdaughter is heavily involved in competitive softball, in high school currently. And you hear just on the team, some of the other team members that she's played with about like just all their stories about, maybe even committing to a certain college, but then being injured and stuff.
Right.
So
what happens?
But then, they kind of, like you said, they make the best of it and they, then they end up being the coach or, it takes them on a different
shifts to
path.
Where it needs to go at the end of the day. And I was always a fan of the body and how it worked. And I liked to work hard and I always wanted to know more about the muscles and how they moved and how to do things properly and alignment and everything. So, and it was always challenging for me too. So it was like, do this form, do this thing, and now, okay, dance. And I was like, no, there's no way. How do I do that?
Wow.
So
it doesn't like come naturally. Like
it
some
doesn't.
People,
some people it comes naturally, but it's a lot of, especially if you're working for things in the right alignment, smaller movements are much easier. Okay. Or smaller movements are better than trying to do bigger movements, because the bigger movements ends up taking us out of alignment simply because, well, I want to do that. Like I want to get to that place. Uh-huh. But really it's more about those smaller micro movements that can then dictate how much easier bigger movements can become.
Wow.
So that was a big learning curve for me as a dancer, because they would put you in these positions and they're like, okay, now you have to stay here in this position but now dance. And think about 20 different things at once. Uh-huh. And it was challenging.
Wow.
But that's what I liked about it a lot, because it was challenging. I was like, I can do this. I can figure this out.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people that are, are in that world, right, of, dance and sports and athletics in general are, oftentimes become entrepreneurs, and they become, they're good, strong salespeople because they're competitive by nature, like, with themselves, right? Challenging
right.
themselves.
No, absolutely.
So does it come naturally to, like, do some people have to challenge themselves more?
Definitely.
Just like based on your composition, basically?
Based on your composition, based on really even awareness. A lot of people just don't know where they are in space. Okay. Where thing is moving versus what thing isn't moving, what body part is versus what isn't.
Wow. I'd be like, I'm not coordinated at all. I cannot dance. I can dance.
You can move.
Like if I've had some wine, I definitely think I can dance, but otherwise.
It's the best time.
I'm a terrible dancer. I think I am. I don't know. My daughter somehow just has moves like naturally. I don't know. She did not get it from me.
Right.
It's so funny how people are so different.
It is. And, I think that's where a lot of even people, when people get injured, that's what happens too, is because they lose that awareness part. Or even moms who get pregnant and postpartum, they also lose that awareness part of what is, I'm going to say correct, but it's not correct. It's just the right alignment for themselves. And it can be easily dismantled, especially in those different areas.
Your body changes.
It changes so much in that 9-10 months, 6 months, depending, how long everything took for you. But everything shifts so drastically. To get back to what your neutral is like, what is that?
Oh, interesting.
So it's that awareness, I think, really becomes key of trying to move, your shoulder up and down is like, oh, that's right. If I'm up to my ears all day, I don't know what up and down is because they're always up.
Right.
So it's interesting to work with people on what clicks easier. And then you always have to try to find ways to talk to that person. What do they understand? Because what I may say to you might not work for what I say to someone else.
Yes. Yeah. It just like having to click the mind to like, what I'm terrible at that. If someone tells me like, do this or whatever, I'm like, okay, so that like.
Right. It's like, bring your hand up to the sky. You're like, okay. But then someone else might bring it out to the side, but a little bit up, It's just all about how you word it and what can relate better to each person.
Right. That makes sense. So you worked in PT, and you had a degree in what? In therapy?
I have in exercise science.
Okay.
And a massage therapist license.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you did that for a long time?
I did that for a while. I did that for probably throughout my whole college. So probably at least 4 years at least.
Oh, that's great.
And I worked in the city doing that too. So I was able to go to dance and work as a PT aide and do all things together.
Yeah. And now you live in Brick with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have children.
Yep. I have 2 boys.
Okay.
One is 2.5 and the other is about to be 9 months.
Oh, it's a little.
Yeah.
Oh, you have your hands full.
Yes.
So they don't really understand Christmas yet, like a little bit.
But. No, not yet. But, he's the older one's starting to. He's like, Christmas, Santa, yeah. So
that's fun. That's a fun time.
Right?
It goes so quickly too. I think, and parents always say that. Oh, like enjoy the the little moments, but you do. Like my daughter just turned 8 in November, and she's like not little, she's little, but she's not little anymore. She doesn't like a lot of the princess stuff anymore. Like all of a sudden she's like more into Legos.
Getting that next age up.
Yeah. And I remember like it was yesterday, my son is also, he'll be 19 in April. Mm-hmm. And I knew how quickly it went, but like also you're so busy. So you're just like, oh, well, I guess, I don't know, maybe but it does. It just like kind of flies.
It does.
And I just wish sometimes I could go back to like one day where like they're little, just one though.
Yeah, right. Just one day.
Just like maybe 2.
No, I understand. Even just having a baby in April, all the way in December now, about to be in the new year. Right. And I'm like, well, what just happened?
Yeah.
Where did these last 8 months, 9 months go? Yeah. I don't even know. And how are you so big?
Right.
Now you're setting up and you're eating like a human and starting to get your personality.
Oh, I know.
The no's and the yeses are, just, I want this, I don't want that.
Isn't it funny too how their personalities like really are? Like thinking back, like my kids like are the same that they were when they were 1 and 2 and 3. Like it doesn't really change.
No. So. I recently started looking at older pictures of my oldest, and only 2.5, but the same things that he would like are the same thing he would do. I'm like, oh my gosh, he still does that.
Right.
Like, and that was just a year ago. Like I didn't think, not that I didn't think he would still do that, but you just, like you said, you don't think like that's the same trait they'll have, and they're just keeps continuing. I'm like, wow, you were this person when you were 1.
Right.
Who would have known?
Oh my gosh. So you have your hands full with 2 little ones.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like to do in the area with them when you're not busy working?
We like to either go for walks. I try to take them to a nearby park when I can, go to the reservoir when I can.
Oh, Manasquan
Reservoir, yeah. I've done that a lot. Or we've gone to, which is it, Doorbrook?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a great park.
That's a great one.
It's huge. And the splash pad they have there and everything.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So he loves going there, and really just anywhere to get them out of the house.
Get them out of the house, right?
Most times I just go around in my neighborhood because I'm like, okay, this is quick. Everyone goes in the carriage. There's like a park nearby us, so we just can go there for a good 15 minutes, then we come back home.
Yeah, just like little things, right? Like
little
to
things.
Get out of the house a little bit.
Exactly.
I just put together recently a local fun and free activities guide. I did one in the summer, and it was pretty well received within, our followers. I think people like to know like what to do in the area, and it doesn't always have to cost money, right? Like there's lots of things to do that are free. Just get out of the house. So I put one together, just like a winter edition to really highlight things that you can do. You don't, not obviously, ideally you'd like a lot of it to be inside, and there's not a ton to do inside that's free, but there are things that you can do. But there's also tons of stuff that you can still do outdoors in the winter that are fun for the kids. And like you said, just get out, like, kind of kick that cabin fever and and just break up the day a little bit. No. That's why Bellworks is like one of my favorite places. And if my kids were little and it existed back then, I would have been there all the time, because you can run out, like they have the big turf inside, and it's like the inside is like the size of, I think it's like 5 football fields or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've actually yet to be inside of there.
Okay.
We went there for that Halloween fest. So we were outside of it.
Oh, right.
But I never actually had a chance to get inside yet. So I'm still itching to go. And then every time the weekend happens, I'm like, oh, that's what I wanted to do over the weekend. Yeah. Just go there, just to go.
That's nice. You can like walk, I see a lot of moms with the strollers, or they have like this big turf section so the kids can like run around.
Oh, that's nice.
And then they have Jersey Freeze, the ice cream place, and pizza, and all kinds of, good food. And everything. So it's just nice to like you said, like break up the day a little bit, and it's indoors, which is nice too. So if it's snowing or whatever, you can
that makes it
there.
Better.
Yeah. So I would definitely be there. It's like kind of what we used to do, I guess, when, we were younger, we'd go to the mall. Like my mom would bring us to the mall.
Right. Exactly. Let's go to the mall. Let's walk around.
It was like the thing to do, like the destination. You don't really do that anymore. No,
especially the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Like I go to the mall because there are certain stores that maybe like the kids like to go to or whatever, or like if there's something specific there that like I need to get, then it's like, oh yeah. But like otherwise I don't really.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you the last time I was even at a mall.
Yeah. But like as a teen, like we lived there.
Forget as a teen.
Mom, please, can you drive us to the mall? Can you pick us up at 3? Can you pick us up at 4?
Right. Just keep tacking on the time just so you can hang out and do whatever.
Yeah. It was like just a different time, I guess. But I do see, like, when I go there, I see teens hanging out there. It's just not I don't know. It doesn't seem the same. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I agree. Either that or the movies.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yeah, they don't really, I mean, my one teen, he didn't go to the movies very often. Like he would, but it was specifically to see a movie. It wasn't like
how
to
we would go hang out at the movies.
Even though we really weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
We'd be like, we want to see a movie, but we just like didn't. Sorry,
right.
Mom. My mom listens to every podcast too. She's going to be like, that's really nice, Katie.
Right. Thank you for telling me now. You probably saw 1, 2.
Yeah. So tell us about your business now, Align Movement.
Yep. So my business now has kind of shifted. I mean, I work with a lot of people on the orthopedic side. So a lot of injuries, a lot of low back pain, or, whether that's even shoulder, knee, neck pain, any of those things. I'm usually the emergency person to go to. So if someone's in a bind, I'm the person they typically call to say, hey, I don't know what I just did, but I need you to come over. And usually I can help them get out of that initial pain right away.
Okay.
Or at least decrease it a decent amount. And that way they don't have to, go to the hospital or go to their painkiller or, some kind of thing like that. Mm-hmm. But then I also help manage all of these things. And if you have had, let's say, low back pain for years, we're really focusing on making sure it's going away and not just giving you a Band-Aid to fix it, getting to the root of the problem and fixing all the things and the layers on top of layers to fix everything versus, well, here's your generic program, or here's 6 weeks of PT and we'll see where you are before you, get insurance to accept your MRI, to go for this, to go for that. I'm not bounded by those things, which is nice, and it gets results a lot quicker.
Okay.
And then I started to shift into prenatal and postpartum.
Okay.
More even just because that's where I've been the past couple of years.
Sure.
So I've found myself even struggling with some hip pain, back pain, especially during pregnancy, and then dealing with diastasis and low back pain after pregnancy. So managing that and getting back to, I guess, how I was my new normal, but how I even was pre-pregnancy and still feeling strong and maybe even stronger, which has been great.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think, my perception of getting help for pain from like surgeries or anything like that is always kind of, oh, you're going to go to the doctor, they're going to recommend a surgery or whatever, or you're going to go, wherever, and they're going to, it's going to make things like, you're going to need something else. So my background with pain, I had scoliosis as so I was 16, I had a spinal fusion.
Okay.
And at the time, I just was told I was getting surgery. Like, you don't think at that age, I'm just okay, like, that's great. And I know I needed it. Like, they told me I would have been like a hunchback if I hadn't had it. And, I'm glad that like I was able to get the surgery, but I do have chronic pain that I kind of just like live with. Right.
And that's most people.
And it's like, if I sit for too long or stand for too long, then it's like it's a problem. But then I just sit or I stand, or I move or whatever.
Just keep doing those things.
And I run, half marathons. I've run a marathon before. It's not like it really is like holding me back. But I've always, like, my mom's a nurse, and she's always like, did you go to the, I'm like, my mom's going to kill me on this podcast. She's like, you're just calling me out and telling me everything you did. And she's like, you go to the doctor? Did you get it? It hasn't been checked since probably I was 17.
Since you had the surgery.
But I've always kind of like, I don't even know where to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or like who to see and stuff like that. I think there's like a lot of like just confusion. So it's like interesting that you're really bringing to light like things that, potentially could be healed, right?
Yeah.
Rather than like having to, possibly going to the wrong person or
or 6 different people.
Right.
A lot of people will add in, you have acupuncture, then you can go to chiropractor, then you can go to physical therapist, then you go to a personal trainer, then you go to Pilates person. You add in all these people, and sometimes they're in line with each other, and sometimes one says do one thing, one says do the other thing.
That's the thing.
Which is very confusing.
And expensive.
Yeah. So, and like, or you're sitting on Instagram or Facebook looking, okay, well, this person did X, Y, and Z, but I think I can do that. So if I try it, maybe it'll be good. But it's like, but you don't know if it's going to be good for you.
I know.
But that's where like all our heads are at now, especially with all the social media. And even go back into like your scoliosis, like I have actually, there are specific exercises that I do that are called eldoas. And what those are actually spinal exercises that help decompress the spine.
Okay.
So you're fixing a segment of the joint below it to then lift the, let's say, vertebrae above it to lift it up to decompress.
Okay.
And then you're using the musculature and the fascia and everything around it to increase space to get the muscles to work properly in the correct alignment or in a decompressed state. So then that way it builds on top of that. So you said like you have scoliosis. There's a lot of times where kids have started to use this method and has decreased their scoliosis by a huge amount of degrees. Then they don't even need surgery, which is great.
I mean, back then they used to actually put you, I don't know if they
put a rod on and or the brace.
The brace, which I never ended up wearing. And, there was some like, kind of, I guess, speculation that the doctor, didn't take it seriously. This is a long time ago.
Right.
But yeah, like I'm curious to see like where it's come now and what they recommend for, certain things, because it's a really big surgery for a kid.
It is very big surgery.
It's hands down, it was more painful than childbirth. Like it was
right. No, it's a hard surgery. Fusions. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are certain cases, and like yours, like there where you do need that, but there are so many ways you can avoid fusions. So many ways you can avoid more epidurals, and so many ways you can actually allow, let's say if you're having neck pain, you're having numbness and tingling in your hands constantly.
Okay.
And they're like, well, we'll just do a nerve block or we'll fuse you and then you won't have this pain anymore.
Okay.
But there are these exercises to do and so much more on top of that to create space, to create length, to create movement, to not have tingling in your fingers, be able to sleep at night, and best of all, not get surgery.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful stuff, but just kind of nobody knows about.
Yeah. No, there really is. I have that, I don't know if this is even related, but like that Raynaud's syndrome where like you like lose like, I guess like blood to your hands and stuff like that. And I do get like the tingling, it depends on the weather, depends on like a lot
Right.
of
I mean, there's
factors.
definitely all those factors.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole thing of just circulation too. So the better you're in alignment in your spine and your pelvis and everything like that, then the better circulation your body can even be in.
Okay.
We kind of work with diaphragms of the body.
Okay.
And we have 4 of them versus just 3. A lot of people. And we have a cranial diaphragm, thoracic and cervical diaphragm.
Okay.
just a thoracic diaphragm and a pelvic diaphragm.
Okay.
And if all of those are working in conjunction with each other, in reality, nothing would be wrong.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy to think about.
Wow.
But if you even have some of those back in the right place,
right.
Breathing well, circulation's well, everything's in the right place, then a lot of things can, there doesn't have to be pain.
Oh.
Pain doesn't have to be your normal or like your everyday life of just like you said, I sit, I stand, I sit, I stand, and I just kind of live with it because I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, because you don't know who to go to. That's the biggest thing. Like, I had something else happening with, I had to see a cardiologist. And when I went, he like ordered all these tests.
Right.
And it was like, you're going to do this, and then you're going to come back and do this, and then you're going to come back to do this. And I was just like, I just don't feel right about, like, I don't know, something that like I just didn't feel right about because I just felt like I was just like being sourced out to all these different things.
Right. Just go all this, and then when you come back, we'll maybe have
And a lot of those tests have been done before, so I was like, what? Just like, I don't know.
Right. No. And sometimes you're like, really, all of these? Like we've done this before. I didn't tell you anything. Like, you don't have anywhere else to take me for here.
Like sometimes there's just, I feel like there's not a lot of like common sense used in some of these. I don't know, but anyway, that's just me. So tell me how you are helping moms, because I know you touched on that a little bit. So different services that you offer for postpartum issues and experiences.
So for postpartum right now, I'm dealing mainly with women who have low back pain or working with diastasis.
Okay.
Diastasis is that abdominal gap that we get from pregnancy.
Okay.
So where all of a sudden our belly kind of still sticks out a little bit. We're thinking that belly pooch or mommy tummy, whatever you want to call it.
And that is permanent if it's not corrected then, I guess?
It all depends. Okay. So there's a certain percentage of women that it can heal on its own.
Okay.
It's 30 or 40% where it can heal on its own, and 60% where it can heal on its own, and 30-40% where it doesn't at all. So unless you take some action to actually heal it yourself. Some do end up needing surgery if their gap is wide enough. Maybe they have a hernia with it too. That can cause that problem. But a lot of those 30-40% of those women can actually close the gap on their own with the right exercises and not need surgery and not have to, let's say if you had C-sections every time you've had birth, don't have to get cut yet again, because every time you get a C-section, that's just more tissue damage and more time to heal and more time for your fascia to reconnect and your muscles to try to figure out how to work again, since they've already been displaced from pregnancy. Then you have to try to figure out how to, get them to fire right, how to breathe right, how to stand correctly, because now everything's been jutted so forward because of pregnancy.
Does it cause pain too, or?
The diastasis can.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily cause pain, but it can produce back pain, hip pain. It can cause everything else to have pain.
Okay.
Because there is no more abdominal connection anymore.
Okay. That's interesting, though. I've heard the term, and to be honest, I never even knew what it was.
That's a lot of people.
And I work with a lot of a handful of physical therapist practices through my business, through Mom with Moms, and that's always like one of the specialties that they cover. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is, but I keep hearing the term.
Right? No. That's a lot of moms too.
Yeah,
and which is crazy because that's all moms deal with.
Yes, there's a lot of, I think, much more postpartum awareness, not just from your mental health, but also your physical health. That, when I became a mom almost 19 years ago, a lot of that just like no one really talked about anything like that. And now there's just so much more, so many more resources available for women and also for kids too. Just like so many different things that weren't around when my son was young. So it's great.
And I think that's the biggest step is everyone just getting more educated on what's happening, like how much your body changes through pregnancy, how much it still stays like that after pregnancy. Yeah. You don't think about it. So like if you were running during your pregnancy or you ran pre-pregnancy, you're thinking, oh, well, I can just go run right after having a baby. I'll be fine.
Right.
And there's tons of women that do. Some are okay. Some not so much, end up in more pain. Some give themselves prolapse because they just go back too quick.
Okay.
So there's so many instances where things can just go wrong because of how our body is now changed so drastically, almost as if pregnancy was like an injury. Right. You can almost think of it like that.
Yes.
Because everything shifts. Your belly gets bigger. Your posture changes. It's like a high hinge point. So all of a sudden you have a big low back arch and your chest sticks out a lot. And you're always leaning to one side of your hip because you're trying to stay comfortable. Your feet turn out, everything changes. And if you don't do anything active after that, it's kind of where your body stays.
Right.
Unless, you're one of the lucky few that it just kind of goes back in place. But 9 times out of 10, you're still not in where you were prior to giving birth.
Okay.
Regardless. So that's where I come in to help during pregnancy, to help kind of regauge all of these things, make sure you're using muscles properly, even though they're being stretched out, even though they're being changed. We can manage that while you're pregnant and then get to that healing phase faster, or getting you better quicker to what you want to do, whether that's running, whether that's hiking, whether that's whatever sport or whatever class you want to get to, but getting there better and stronger and faster, learning all the right tools and layers to kind of go on top of one another to help.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you service Monmouth and Ocean County?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how long have you been in business now?
About 6 years.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So you're seeing a lot more moms, you mentioned.
Yeah.
But you obviously, treating dads too, right?
Yep. I treat dads too for pain as well. Yep.
But adults only?
Adults mostly. Okay. I have dealt with some kids here and there.
Interesting.
But mostly adults.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I always love to learn I love, just meeting moms who are running their own businesses or, working professionals and, achieving the goals that they have and the dreams that they had for themselves. But it's the most challenging thing, and not challenge, it can be challenging, but is being a mom, right? Yeah. And just the day to day, like, how you run your day. So what does your day look like, Monday through Friday when you're working, you're, continuing to build your business.
Right.
You now, you have little kids at home.
Yes. No, that's been 100% challenging. And I've been trying to manage my time the best I can. My one son, he goes to daycare 3 times a week.
Okay.
Those are the times that I'll work. So the Monday.
Like you schedule your in-person
my in-person things. I do the day that he goes to daycare while my little one goes to my parents.
Okay.
So at least that's covered. So when I'm done with my day, I'll pick up my little one, and then typically my husband will pick up my older one.
Okay.
And then on the days that I'm not working, as usually I just try to do anything and everything I can with my kids. So try to be present there in the moment with them, or if I need to make something, I'll try to have them involved, or at least the older one. The other one just kind of hangs out with us. Right. But so when I'm trying to work is usually during nap times, which I'm sure everyone can relate to, is when you kind of can get things done, and also trying to clean and trying to do this and that, juggling the handful of juggles.
And I think too, you have for me, I always sit down on Sunday night, and by Friday, I'm always burnt out from the week. So it's hard for me to plan out my following week because I just kind of can't think about it.
Right.
So I made a habit, actually a long time ago, I had a great mentor and a old boss of mine when I worked in the wine industry. And he worked for a company that was very, I guess, militant in their practices throughout the week. Right. So they were very organized and very disciplined and everything, every facet of what they did. Right. To the point of, we were traveling, salespeople. We drove to restaurants and wine shops and liquor stores throughout, different states. And obviously we need gas to fill up our tanks. So he always told us to fill up our tank before we even got on the road. Right. So it wasn't taking away from the time of, to stop and stuff like that. So it's really just all about time management. So
it is.
He really instilled to a point. I have to go back now and get this Atomic Habits book, but he did make a pretty big impact on me and was a tremendous leader. But he told me, Sunday, whenever you have the time, the capacity, but it shouldn't be Monday morning, right? It should never be Monday morning, when you are taking the time out of, taking the time out of the time that you can get other things accomplished, whether that be, a sale or, something a goal towards, your business or whatever you're doing in your work, your professional life. So I always sit down on Sunday night and I plan the week ahead, right? And sometimes, I follow it to a T, right? And it's like, it works out like perfectly. And I'm like, oh, I don't know why I stress. And then, and then by Tuesday, sometimes it's like, I don't even,
it goes out the window. It goes out
the window.
Totally.
So I think, it's like always just working towards like, that like, being better and like, trying to get things accomplished. But it, as a mom, like, sometimes then the kids are sick and they can't go to daycare.
Right.
Or that happened a ton.
I was going to say, forget it. That's been the whole past 4 months.
My kids were both, always in daycare, and I was pulling up to the daycare at, 6:00 and running home. And I wouldn't say I'm lucky to not have to do that now, which I'm just in a different place right now. So, things are, I work from home, but there's still challenges that are met with that because
absolutely
you can't, you're supposed to be working, but like I'm present.
Right. So it's like, do I do work? Do I do
laundry?
Right.
I get very like,
I keep having this discussion with myself every time there's something or there's downtime, whatever that downtimes mean. I ask myself, what is the priority?
Right.
Like right now, what is the priority? Is it this? No. Is it this? No. Okay. Pick which one. Work? Yes. Laundry? No. Okay, I'll get to that later.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like I'll do laundry or dishes because it's like, well, I'm still doing work.
Right.
And like you feel like you're still like accomplishing something, but like you're almost avoiding the thing that you'd probably like
rather do.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a little bit less or
even
whatever.
Like taking care of yourself. You have 20 minutes. What are you going to do? You're going to sit down and relax. Yeah. You're going to pick up something to do, or maybe you're going to work on something that could impact your body in a better way. Like which way is more important to you right now? And like, you just have to figure that out and make that the priority. I think for me, that's been the biggest like, what's the priority? This. Right. Okay, I'm going to do this. And usually that works out better for me because I'm like, okay, I actually sat back, I took the time and I like almost like evaluated very quickly what's the priority. And then I don't have to worry about it later. Or it's like, I got that done in like nicely. Or I got my workout in, whether that's 15, 20 minutes or whatever. I got something in, I moved my body. Right. Great. You know, that's key.
The small like rewards. I follow this woman on Instagram, and she is, I think she's like a nutritionist, and she's a tremendous following. She puts out these great videos, and they're usually very like inspirational. And she put something out the other day, and she was just like making her bed. And I'm very bad at making my bed.
Oh, me too.
But I love a made bed.
Right.
And she's like, there's these like small like rewards for like, or small amounts of work for like a bigger reward. And it, like they always say, like make your bed, right? Like even like the great leaders of the world, like, to make your bed, because like it's those small things that you do that like, it sets your mind like in a certain way. And she's right. Like, I hate making beds. Like, there's a few things that like I don't like doing around the house. I don't like making the bed. I hate like folding sheets, all of it. Like, it just annoys me. And it never looks good. Like, my grandmother, she makes like the beds that like if you go into Macy's or
it looks like a picture perfect.
She is so good at it. My mom's pretty good at it too. It did not come to me. Like terrible. But I do love a made bed, but it's like rare that my bed is made. So it's just like you said, just like these little things that
and that's what you'll find a lot in that Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Is you find those little, you just start doing little things. Don't go for the big stuff.
Right.
You go for the little things and you just keep consistent
okay.
with those little things.
Right.
And the more consistent you do those little things, you start then forming a habit.
Right.
And it kind of works with everything, whether that's work, whether that's working on your body, working that's awareness, working that, any new habits of making a bed or something like that. The more you do little tiny things, the better all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I did have time for this. I just didn't think I had time for this because it was going to take this amount of time, when really it's like, oh, if I just do this maybe throughout the day or every time I go brush my teeth, then next thing you know, it becomes a habit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder too, like a lot of the time I will not do something because I think it's going to take an hour, but it only takes 10 minutes or whatever.
Right.
So it's just like, like perception is, reality. So
always.
Yeah. So when you're not working and you're, on the weekends with your family, where are your favorite places to go out to eat, even if with or without the kids? What do you like to?
Well, we like to go out to, me and my husband are big steak people.
Okay.
So we like to go to Prime in Point Pleasant.
Oh, I've heard
Prime
about
13.
it. Okay. Is it great?
It's a great place.
Yeah.
So we'd love to go there any chance we can. But really,
I love
that's
Point Lobster too.
Point Lobster is great.
So good.
Yeah.
We go there a lot. Not a lot, but we go there enough in the summer.
Yes, I'm sure.
It's very good.
But yeah, we always looking for, whatever festival is going on.
Yeah.
Or whatever kind of event that allows us to just get out of the house and go walk around. Or even if it's a craft fair inside, we'd like to just get out and look at stuff.
Have you been to Spanos in Point Pleasant?
Mm-hmm.
Is that I've heard that's great too.
Also
Italian,
good.
Yeah,
really good.
And La Mondina. I went for an event in Brielle.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For I guess over the summer. So we had it was more like a catered function, but it was still excellent. So I'm looking forward to going back there for dinner.
Yeah, I've heard great things about that place too.
So great food in that area, and also Shipwreck Grill. That's on my list too. And
that's a good one.
In Brielle.
Yeah.
I've heard they have good steak as well.
Yeah.
So any resolutions for the new year? Are you a resolution person?
I am kind of.
Yeah.
It's not like my big thing to do, but I definitely think about, what I want to do.
Right.
I think right now my resolution is to be able to get out to more people and to help more women especially.
Okay.
That's my biggest resolution. And to definitely keep making the time with my kids for the time that I have with them.
Right.
Trying to, if my days off are my days off and I want to try to keep them my days off.
Right.
To make sure I spend time with them, do things with them, to
be present.
Be present.
Yeah.
For those moments. And then just be a little more, maybe, like I said, time organized. Keeps trying to figure out, okay, when do I get things done? When do I not get things done?
Right.
Make sure I go to sleep, or do I stay up too late?
Sleep is a big one.
Sleep has always been big for me. I'm usually the one pulling my husband to bed. 9 o'clock comes around or 9:30. I'm like, okay, bed, bye.
Yes.
Either you're coming or you're not.
Yeah. I'm good about that. And then sometimes I'm not. Last night I was up till 11. I'm like, oh, damn it.
That's hard. That's hard.
Because I need sleep. Some people, I marvel at how they can just function on 5 hours of sleep and be fine.
Yeah, no, I can't do that either.
I think I talked about this on the last podcast, but I really need 8.
Me too.
And if I don't get 8, I'm okay on 7.
Yep.
But it builds.
Yes.
Right. So I notice if I get a great night's sleep and then the following day, I don't get it. It's okay. I'm still okay the next day. But if it's over the 3 or 4 days.
If it keeps happening.
I can't I can't even think straight. It's so annoying. It's annoying though.
Yes.
Annoying?
It's annoying. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
My 2.5-year-old now, he likes to wake up in the middle of the night.
Okay.
For no reason.
Uh-huh.
We don't know why. But it's just that extra thing that gets you up and you're like, oh my gosh. Just go to sleep.
Yes, I know.
You're like, why are you waking up at 4 a.m.? It's not supposed to. It's time to go back to sleep. Okay, I love you. Good night. Let's go back to sleep. Oh, crap. Now my alarm's going to come out at 5 o'clock or 5:30 for me to wake up.
Yes.
So now you're woken up an hour before. You have to wake up.
Go back to sleep. And you're telling yourself.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, now fall back asleep. And then you fall back asleep. And you're like, that was 10 minutes. And you're like, no, it was an hour and a half. Oh, gosh.
Oh, my gosh. This is completely self-inflicted. But we, last January, we got a puppy. We have a lab. We have a chocolate lab.
Okay. I have labs too.
And we love her, and she's almost 7, and she's very lazy and just likes to sleep, and so she's easy. When she was a puppy, she was really, really, challenging, but now she's kind of set in her ways. Sure. So we were bored in January, and we actually literally went to go get a fish. This is how the whole thing happened.
A fish. And you ended up with a puppy.
We ended up with a puppy.
Nice.
So we have a little, a smaller dog. I've never had a small dog before, but a Cavalier King Charles, and they're just different. They're different breeds.
Totally.
Obviously, and they're much more high maintenance.
Yes.
And very almost like a diva. It's hysterical how their
just not a lab. Just not a lab. Not a lab.
Not a lab.
Just not.
So we love him, but he's a little devious. He's very but he gets up in the middle of the night like a baby.
Oh no.
Still. And it's gonna be he's a year old.
Right.
Oh my God, it's driving me crazy. Last night. So he was up at I'm like, I'm gonna this freaking dog. And I'm the horrible dog owner that doesn't. I did crate him for a little bit, but then I feel bad. He's crying. I'm like, oh, he's fine. So he sleeps in our room, and then he gets up, and so he is he's housebroken and all that.
Right.
But you hear he rings the bell. We have a bell on a thing,
right? Because then I knows when he has to go out.
He has to go out. Mm-hmm. So he rings the bell. And it was last night. It was midnight, and then he got up again at 4:30, and then he woke the lab up, and I'm like. This is ridiculous.
Oh
this is where I am in my life, where like my kids are
right. They're sleeping good,
and my dog,
and now your dog's waking you up.
Ruling my life.
That's okay. I have 4 labs.
Okay.
So, and if you get up in the middle of the night and someone realizes that you've gotten up, one of them gets up.
Okay.
And if one of them starts wagging their tail, hitting stuff, then the other one wakes up. And you're like, no. Everybody go to bed. All 4 of you lay down.
Yeah, yes.
Please, no.
Yeah.
Don't make too much movement. Don't make too much sudden anything.
You like don't get up to go to the bathroom.
Right.
Because you're just like, forget it. It's not worth it.
Right. No, and it's funny. Like I can get up because I guess they're used to me getting up for my youngest. Because I had, going through the first 6 months, they weren't sleeping at all.
Right.
So they're used to me going in and out of the bedroom, no problem, or going to the bathroom, no problem. But the minute my husband wakes up to go pee or anything like that, they're like, where are you going? What are you doing? Is it time to wake up?
Yes.
He's like, no, everyone lay down.
Everyone lay down.
No one make noise. Don't hit the door. Don't hit the walls of the kids' rooms. Like, don't do that. Everybody lay down.
I know. I was at someone's house this weekend and I was like, your dog sleeps downstairs, like by itself.
Right. I don't know how that happens.
I don't know how that happens either. They're like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's novel. I can't do that.
How'd you do that? Sometimes we'll leave a dog downstairs because they literally won't get up off the bed. They're like just dead asleep and they won't leave. They're like, all right, fine, we'll leave you asleep. But then if they come up in the middle of the night, they barge the door open and then one of them might sneak away and then go downstairs. And next thing you know, they go downstairs and they start barking because they want to go out. I'm like, no.
Oh, I know.
No, you all have to, once you're in, you're all locked in. You can't leave.
Yeah.
Or if you're down, you stay down. You can't come up. So pick your option.
We should do a whole new podcast on just pet stuff and owning
pet quirks,
dogs
yes.
and how bad dog owner I am. They're just spoiled. No. They're spoiled.
and that's what it is,
Yeah.
I have 4 dogs, but I have 3 beds. So almost everybody gets a bed.
Okay.
So
that's fair.
That's half of my bedroom right there.
I know my bedroom is
large beds.
Ridiculous.
But at least I have 2 of them that will snuggle up together and, be together on one bed while the other 2 will be by themselves.
Oh my gosh.
So
they're
their own journey.
The things we do for just
life.
Happiness, right?
Yeah,
for happiness, for
absolutely.
Life. They are great though. I love dogs.
They are. No, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I didn't mean to have 4 dogs, but that's what also happened. So.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
No,
where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on either Facebook, on Align Movement, or Instagram, Align Movement Therapy. There's just an underscore between therapy and movement.
Okay.
Or my website is alignmovement.com.
Alignmovement.com.
Yep.
And they can reach out, schedule a consultation.
Yep.
Okay.
I do a consultation. There's a free consultation.
Okay.
And we go over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you need to, probably more in depth than you would have any doctor's appointment that you would ever have.
Interesting. Okay.
To make sure I get the full picture.
I love that.
And so that way we get you on the right path.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, alivemovement.com, and make sure to follow Rachael on Instagram.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously tag, everything here when this airs. So thanks again for having us.
Oh, thank you for
coming with us. For coming. It's the sleep. I didn't get the sleep last night.
That's okay. I understand. Yes,
me too. This month we have our fitness and wellness guide that is on the website, themomwithmoms.com. This is our 2023 guide. So this is our 5th one. Going into our 5th year of the Mom with Moms, which is crazy. I can't believe that. And it just kind of flew. But a lot of plans in the works for 2023 with Mom with Moms. We're going to be doing some larger scale events, possibly outdoors, maybe some food trucks involved. I don't know.
Very nice. Very nice.
So look forward to, talking a little bit more about that in the spring into summer. We're going to bring Mom's Evening Out back again. We had a great time last year with a really nice Mom's Evening Out. We did boutique vendors and obviously past hors d'oeuvres and some drinks and stuff like that. And it was a really, really nice evening. So we'll be doing that again this year. Our summer camp guide is coming out soon, which is crazy. But we usually bring it. I used to actually put that out in March. And then throughout COVID,
Everyone wanted more information sooner.
Yeah. And it just like things shifted a lot, obviously, during COVID. But like one of the things I noticed is that like moms were planning ahead further in advance.
They had more time.
Yeah. And that kind of stuck. And now like I get questions about summer. I get questions about summer camps like in the fall.
Right. You know, what's happening next year?
Yeah. What's happening? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Give me a break.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
So that'll come out in February, earlier than it did last year. Yeah. And
you know what I think too happens is everything gets filled up so fast.
Yes. No, that is what happens. So yeah, I think maybe more kids are going to camp. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, lots of things coming down the pipeline. And as always in January, look to us for a lot of wellness information, great resources in the area for, you know, whether you have any resolutions, whether that be fitness, wellness, for, you know, maybe just your own self-care needs. Yeah. We have a lot of great stuff coming soon. So look to us for that and have a good day.
Yeah, have a great day. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.